Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and today my friends are back with a community showdown. It's going to be A Move Hacker facing off against the true Bretonian Empire versus Ogre Kingdom. Certainly a very fun matchup. Pretty much the Empire getting blitzed. You got spears, you got huntsmen, you got some Demogryph Knights ready to absorb the charge, and it really makes for quite a fun cinematic battle in my opinion. Now, Boris Todbringer is going to be the Lord here against the Ogre Kingdoms, and he's just super good. Franz is a very good kind of assassin type character, but Boris Todbringer has a little bit more utility as it pertains to manipulating the battlefield and enduring. Because he does have, of course, the Blood War, which Franz has, but he does also have Crush the Weak, which is another -4 leadership. So -12 leadership in total around him is quite good. On top of that, he passively heals, and you don't need to babysit him as much. Granted, I still think Franz is really good in this matchup. Ogre Kingdoms often will have, caster characters to go after, and you have Gal Maraz popped on Franz. You're going to be able to get in there and do some big damage for sure. But I do think Boris is the optimal pick here. Now, for the front line, it's going to be Swordsman, Sigmar Sons, backed up by Spearman with Shield. Spearman with Shield's a pretty good choice here. Noblar Trappers, of course, have good missile attack, so having the bronze shields on your state troopers is certainly worth it over the course of a long battle. And Sigmar Sons are just a generalist unit that has good stats, so they can fight against Ogre Bulls and do okay for themselves. Double Huntsman, Hammer the Witches is pretty great here. Hammer the Witches certainly keeps your opponent honest from like scrap launchers and iron blasters, as well as their characters if you can snipe them. But only thing is, Hammer the Witches on this map could be a little bit precarious. This is the proving ground, and obviously if the cannon's like sitting right here, it's going to be line of sighted on Objective 1 and Objective 3, and really can only get good line of sight on Objective 2. You could move the cannon like right here and maybe get a little bit of side shooting, but generally it's going to be tough. Now the caster for the Empire is going to be, I know there's a wizard somewhere, maybe the wizard was in reserves, which I think it was, so it'll probably be summoned out soon, but Gryphites are a really good choice too, which makes me think, I don't know, usually when you see Gryphites you will see a life caster, but that's also aren't bad. Ogres are someone who wants to blitz to your front line and try and lock down your shooting, so having a net ability to try and control that is nice, and it looks like it is going to be a light wizard. Now for the forces of the Great Maw, it is going to be a Hunter on a Stonehorn. Now classic stuff, taking me back to the old school days, and these things are a pain in the butt for sure, especially with Troll Guts. They have 20% base missile resist with the Noblar's little Thief Stone here, I think is what it's called. They get an additional 15% ward save. So yeah, these guys definitely very tough to focus down. It takes a ton of effort, and it's going to be Ogre Bulls, Noblars, and looks like a Firebelly, which is a really good choice. I love that pick from the true Bretonian. Firebelly, Burning Head, really good against state trooper lines. If you have some spearmen lined up, you can break them almost instantly with a good Burning Head. So nice cannon shots. Looks like a couple Ogre Bulls going to go down to the fury of Sigmar's powder as they continue to rain fire in here. Boris Todbringer taking a very defensive posture, and it's funny, I used to play this matchup a lot with Flying Taco. We would jump on and play, and this is just how it goes. Like, the Ogres do not even care about waiting for the objectives. I don't know what it is, just the Great Maw just taking over the mind of Ogre players and forcing them to hunt the food, essentially. But Ogre players just straight up go for it, man. They basically try and just stuff the Empire back and maybe leave like a Noblar or have some of the reinforcing units grab the points, but I wonder if the true Bretonian's going to sit back. He's a pretty aggressive player on Bretonia. He definitely gets in there and tries to pin you back while grabbing the objectives, and it looks like the Ogre Kingdoms are going to be suiting his playstyle as well. So A Move Hacker setting up his Dwarven Symmetry here. A Move Hacker, a very, very strong player from the days of Warhammer 2 and Warhammer 3 as well, but obviously known for his Dwarvish play, and now we do see ye old Ogre Bulls getting ready to come in, while the Stonehorn going to be charging into Brave Spear, so it doesn't quite get that sweet charge, but yeah, obviously infantry do just get melted by Stonehorns. But the Royal Altdorf Gryphites pop out of the trees. Going to be a nice catch. Hunter taking a ton of anti-large damage. This is like the worst place for the Hunter to be, but the Hunter's trying to penetrate into the backfield to get on top of the Huntsman. Burning Head going to be going down to the top as well. Does hit the state troopers, but not before Toddy's able to come in with the Huntsman support and take those bad boys down. Now, some Ogres do get into the backfield. Some of them are on top of the Huntsman, but the initial damage definitely going very, very well here for the Empire. But now the main army is going to be arriving for the Ogres. It always seems like sunshine and rainbows until they arrive at your lines, right? And then it gets a little bit messy. So net going down on the Hunter, but a cascading Fire Cloak response from the Ogre Kingdoms player is going to be putting his melee defense up to 56 right there. Meanwhile, Huntsmen with their anti-large shots in tandem here with the Royal Altdorf Gryphites getting some really, really nice attacks. Gryphites are pretty monstrous, and the fact that they do cause terror is really nice at sweeping out Ogres out of your backfield. So highly recommend the Gryphites in this matchup. Stonehorn Hunter, though, going to get away. I would imagine that maybe the Ogre Kingdoms player has some sort of a healing caster in reserve, but all the objectives are being grabbed by the Ogre Kingdoms. A little bit of a blunder to not grab the side objective. I think in this matchup, the Empire typically will win in trading, but you win by pinning them back for so long that you're able to just straight up pin them back and win on points. Iron Fist here on top of the Sterling's Revenge. Sterling's Revenge, pretty good shooting unit against Ogres, but they are going to be run over by these guys, but the wavering and the amount of spears in the backfield slowly starting to maneuver the Ogres back. And we do see our boy Boris going after the Hunter here, so he's going to be trying to chase that Hunter off the battlefield. Maybe I don't know if he's going to want to chase it all the way off. It looks like Dismember being used by the Ogre Kingdom player here, which is going to be slowing him down to 36 speed, but the Stonehorn isn't that much quicker. Well, I guess it is. It does have 66, but it looks like TODDY is able to kind of keep enough pace to keep that thing off and break it. And it is considered the Lord of the army. He didn't use the Noblar unsummoning trick, so that Hunter, if it does get routed off, is going to be applying a penalty to the Ogre Kingdom's army. So shout out to the True Bretonian for not playing with the cheese. Always fun to see that. So, because clearly it's not a mechanic that's working as intended, right? But, you know, it's just become part of the meta that people do that. But it's like clearly it wasn't intended that way, and it's just how it's being used. But it is what it is. So Empire is still pinned back, but I mean, the points aren't that big. Currently, it's only 120 points. There's plenty of time left here for the Sons of Sigmar to get up. They're up to 4,600 to 2,200 value. Ogre's still swarming in, and a lot of the spear lines are getting worn down. Even though spears are quite good against ogres, ogres do a ton of damage against lightly armored infantry, and that's pretty much state troopers in a nutshell, right? Kind of cool if the Empire had like some sort of an armored cavalry or something. But then, I mean, you know, I guess that would be the High Elves with that. That'd be the Dark Elves. That'd be the Empire. They can't all have it. But the state troopers, especially our boy Hans here, he's got his cool white hat, trying to fight these guys back, but it looks like they're going to be breaking under the mass of the Great Maw. On the far side of the map, we do see Boris Todbringer making the great chase, and he is going to be committing to chasing the Lord off the battlefield. I would say if this was like a regular Hunter on a Stonehorn and it wasn't the Lord of the army, it might not be worth chasing, but considering it is the Lord, I think it's worth hunting off the battlefield because a negative 16 leadership penalty on the entire Ogre army is going to be extremely, extremely relevant. Now, eventually the Ogres are going to be swept back here. The fact that the Griffites are still just going ham for Sigmar, pushing into the back of the Firebellies, also getting into the Ogre Bulls here, this is going to get cleaned up eventually, and the Empire is going to be making its push on the objectives. It's really up to the Ogres to make sure that they get enough points and can hold the Empire back here long enough to win in that regard. We do also see some fire support coming in, so we got Leadbelchers coming in for the True Bretonian. Not too many great targets for them. I mean, that's the cool thing about Leadbelchers. I find that, like, if you look at Ushabti Greypoes, the basic variant of the Ushabti Greypoes, they're not quite as good against, like, infantry. They're more of, like, kind of dealing for monstrous cavalry or characters, whereas Chosen to the Gods, the RORs, are better against, like, you know, multiple model units and infantry. But Leadbelchers, they do pretty well against most things they shoot. Like, I find that they can crush infantry well, they can crush monstrous units, and they can also, you know, take down single entity models well. Whereas, like, Ushabti Greypoes don't quite achieve that same goal. But again, Ushabti Greypoes have higher armor, they're more mobile, so there's a lot of things that kind of you get out of that trait. So the Sons of Sigmar are going to be moving up in the points. We see the points looking to be 383, so it's getting there. Ogres just throwing more bodies. Out for the Great Maw, going to be attacking Sigmar Sons, but these are no mere state troopers. These are unbreakable fanatics of Sigmar, and they probably will be able to fight back these ogres. Ogres taking a little bit of damage, but it looks like they're trying to push through to maybe get on top of the Huntsman, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Ogre player, let's take a little bit of a macro look at the battlefield, see what he's got going on. We do see Noblars right here. We see Leadbelchers coming in, more Ogre Bulls, more Ogre Bulls. So really just playing the Bulls on Parade strategy, which is good. You know, it's a style that's been somewhat popularized by, you know, Ogre Kingdom players like the Flying Taco. The Flying Taco uses Greases, so I mean, yeah, it's just a whole nother beast. Would Greases have been okay here? Probably not. He'd probably just be sitting on the middle objective with like 300 value right now, I would wager. Ogre Bulls getting cut off in the forest, the state troopers. They are fighting with the support of the Huntsman in the back, so they are able to push back these Bulls. These Bulls going to be running for their lives here as their leadership is negative 28, in danger of potentially shattering. More state troopers on the way up, and we do see the Royal Outdorf Griffites able to chase back these Ogre Bulls, and Boris Todbringer is going to be very tough to kill. Ogres, you know, they have some armor-piercing values, but proportionally speaking, per model, their armor-piercing isn't like super amazing. They have 90 weapon strength with only 31 of that being armor-piercing, so not going to be able to get through Boris's 85 armor super effectively. And now we do have some Empire Knights coming in. Empire Knights don't do a ton of damage. They have a charge bonus of 48, but against like lightly armored ogres, they can certainly break them on the charge and do some good work. So it looks like a dual weapon bull is going to be intercepting these state troopers, and you can see how much damage infantry take if they're not braced against ogres. It's pretty insane. Like a dual weapon bull against an unbraced spearman will easily win that fight, like very, very easily. I think the cannon's offline as well, so basically just going to be state troopers pushing up with spearmen and archer support. On the far side, we do see the light wizard moving up with the Sigmar Sons and the spears here. And I'm starting to see the hope and dreams here of the True Bretonian's ogres start to ebb and fade as the Griffites get a nice 2v1 fight, taking a bit of damage themselves. No life caster to heal them, but with Boris Todbringer coming in, the ogres are going to be taking a ton of leadership penalties. Like right now, they're sitting at 37 leadership. Let's go ahead and look at the modifiers. So, yeah, right now, discouraged by ability is minus 12. The Lord, did he resummon the Lord? Because usually there should be some sort of a penalty for that. He might have resummoned the Stonehorn. Oh, he might have gotten the unsummon off. I think Boris Todbringer maybe didn't quite get him off the battlefield, and he got the unsummon. So he was able to avoid that Lord penalty. That's something else that, like, I think is really stupid. I think that C8 really needs to rework that whole system of, like, you get a Lord at, like, 5%, you just unsummon it, and then you don't have to, like, when it's, like, a couple feet away, Like, overall, I think Domination has done a lot of great things, but that is something that is just really janky and needs to be fixed. But hopefully CA is looking at it. Probably not, but, you know, let's hope. In the back, we do see Leadbelchers getting chased down by Empire Knights. That's a huge value pick. There are going to be some Saber-Tusk packs. Saber-Tusk packs in general don't do very well against armor. And if the Empire Knights are anything, they're going to be heavily armored. So they do charge into the Saber-Tusks inadvertently, but they probably will end up winning that fight. So as far as the objectives go, the Ogres are actually doing a reasonably good job at keeping the State Troopers off, and they might get to the point where they can win on one cap, but you can see every objective is partially influenced by the Empire right now. Objective 1 is firmly under the control of the Sons of Sigmar, as we see multiple Spearmen backed up by a Light Wizard, as well as the Sigmar Sons pushing back the Leadbelchers. So this objective looking pretty good. As far as the middle goes, we do get a full health Spearman here. Really nice net going down from my A-move hacker. He nets down the Ogre Bulls, and these guys are going to be getting caught by the State Troopers and, you know, poked by those little spears. But more importantly, it allows the Spearmen to get more capture weight on this prior to the Ogre Bulls arriving. Over on the far side, Objective 3 looking like it's going to be pretty easily taken here by the Empire as well. They are, you know, breaching the 1,000-point line. Now, here's the thing. If he had captured that first objective, all 3 objectives instead of just the 2, he'd probably be at 1,100 or 1,200 points right now. It would be a little bit of a scarier situation where he could maybe focus all of his efforts on one objective, but even still, I mean, it probably wouldn't have made a difference, but it could, right? It could. So Boris immediately getting a big terror route and break there on the Noblars. Here we get Swordsmen fighting the Noblar Trappers, Ogres being unsummoned around the battlefield. In the back, Empire Knights doing what they do best, which is being a roadblock. The Leadbelchers do end up piling in to help fight with the Saber-Tusks, and they are able to get the win 2v1. But Empire Knights, again, that's what they are. They're roadblocks with huge armor and, you know, some decent combat prowess for sure. It's kind of interesting how, like, Cathay, Kislev, and the Empire all have, like, pretty much, like, minor differences in, like, that same type of cavalry unit, right? Like, Kislev has a higher charge bonus, a little bit more damage, but less armor. Cathay is just kind of middle of the road, you know, kind of a hybrid between the two of them, and, yeah, it's fun to see. So all 3 objectives are captured. Ogre's going to be moving out, but it looks like it's a pretty serious triple cap for the Empire. And the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, these guys have got to have some huge value this game. Taking a look here, and let's see what the Gryphites are rocking. Currently, 3,600 value on the Gryphites. That is fat. They were able to take care of the Ogres, and they do get unsummoned. They get sent back to the old halls of Altdorf to enjoy some of the finest Bugman's brew they can find. And they'll be back, I'm sure. We could resummon him. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Currently looking at A-move. He's got some decent resources being banked. So having a very healthy sweeper unit. Because basically for the Ogres right now, it's going to be like desperation mode. They're just going to be throwing things out. So if you have the Gryphites on the field and you're able to just kind of sweep away whatever you know, pressure points they may have, you're going to be in good shape. Pause protection going down. So it looks like that will give some armor, up to 60 armor and 59 melee defense on these Spearmen. So they should be pretty stalwart there. Double Leadbelcher in the back, though. Not bad shooting, but currently A-move is cashing up in terms of points. He's getting there, and one objective looks like it could be in a little bit of danger of flipping, but no, we do see the Sterling's Revenge arrive. A couple Spearmen are still here. Spearmen that probably need to be unsummoned right there, and the Ogres are going to be trying to get the middle. But with TODDY there, he's going to be tanking that leadership. A couple Empire Knights do come back. Look at that, fight into the 4th quarter for Sigmar as they do get a rear charge into these Leadbelchers. Quite nice. Leadbelcher is pretty awful in combat. I mean, their combat stats are 26 and 26, so it's kind of like a Dwarf Warrior or something. But yeah, they're not designed for melee combat. What is their weapon strength, though? It's still 90, so I suppose not as bad as I thought. Spearmen coming across, heading over to Objective 2. Here on the far side, we see Objective 3 being held by some Spearmen as well as some Huntsmen. Huntsmen are going to be ripping fat shots into the Ogre Bulls as they do try and retreat. And on the back side, we do see some of the Huntsmen being compromised. But overall, A-move hacker is closing that gap. He's got a big value lead. And, you know, if it wasn't a Firecaster, if we had like a healing, a Trollguts caster who had gotten like 3 or 4 massive heals on the Stonehorn, the value difference wouldn't be as serious. But considering that there wasn't that type of a character, it's a very, very stark difference here. Sterling's Revenge, they got their pistols out, and they're going to put some hurt into these Ogre Bulls. And of course, the poor State Troopers in the front, the Sigmar Sons, going to be taking the beating. But the Sterling's Revenge and these 2 powerful RORs should be able to win that fight. Over on the middle objective, it looks like it is being held by the Empire. More Spearmen arriving, and the Foss Protection in tandem with Boris Todbringer's leadership routes. And these Empire Knights who just won't hear any bell. Moving back in, and they get a nice rear charge into the back of the Leadbelchers, and these Leadbelchers should finally be wavering and breaking, as I think this is going to be the end of the road. I would wager that the true Bretonnian would be tapping out relatively soon. Maybe he's going to keep fighting, trying to get into the middle. We do see the Royal Altdorf Gryphites get out, and they do get dismembered, actually, so they are dismembered, slowing their speed down. Really good play by the True Bretonian. He's actually getting a massive amount of value. Could there be some sort of an Ogre comeback? I mean, I just don't see it. With TODDY on the battlefield, I feel like he's just going to be such a playmaker. And these guys, you know, they will eventually escape this debuff, and they're going to catch these Lead Belchers. And even if the Ogre Bulls try and intercept them, Boris Todbringer's nearby. He'll probably terror out these guys pretty quickly, and it looks like there's going to be a net going down or a Foz protection. Foz protection, so Demogryphs with 155 armor, Steam Tank levels armor. And yeah, there's going to be a terror route going down in just a moment. Side objective, looks like these Sterling's Revenge are being hunted. We got more Spearmen with Shields coming up. Free Company Militia going to get absolutely destroyed by these Ogre Bulls. That is going to be a painful one. They got that big charge bonus, and they got the gut plates and the Iron Fist to absorb those bullets. So you can see a pretty nasty charge there. Free Company Militia will hold for a moment, and then obviously there's enough State Troopers here to still win this fight. Boris Todbringer and company getting terror routes, chattering units, and the Lead Belchers being pushed back. And we see A-Move Hacker essentially passing him in score. And at that point, the Bretonian player, or the True Bretonian, playing the Ogre Kingdoms is going to tap out. So certainly a fun match. And yeah, it's a classic Ogre playstyle, just stuff. But yeah, the Hunter, if the Hunter hadn't been caught by those demis and like overextended into the backfield where it got netted and isolated and chain beaten down, I think it could have been a bit of a different beast. I do think that though the Firebelly is good against the Empire, I think that your Ogres do enough shock damage that bringing a Troll Guts character with the Power Fist just to kind of nuke things is a little bit more cost effective, because 1 or 2 Troll Guts on that Hunter and he would have been back up to close to full health and could have kept pressuring, and it would have been a very different game. Just my 2 cents. As far as the rest of the army goes, though, I like A-Move's army. It's good. I always find that the artillery is a bit of a trap. On Black Ark and maps like that, I think it's worth bringing, but it's just, yeah. In my builds against Ogres lately as the Empire, I've actually been cutting the Hammer of the Witches and just going like wider and getting like some Empire Cav or Knights of the Blazing Sun or something. But yeah, GG, well played. Really fun match. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and we will be back with more replays soon, looking at the value here for the Ogre Kingdoms. Yeah, some of the Ogre Bulls did very well. They're very good units. About 1,500 on these bad boys. Jeez. Take care, guys, and see you next time.